everybody. Hi. Thank you for bearing with us. The storm that came through, we moved it from 111 to 333, and here we are. Both numbers I love. I don't know about you, Sonia.
Yes, I like all.
I'm loving the number stuff. So here we are. This is the second ReSounding Wholeness conversation. And I want to just take a few moments before I hand it over to Sonia to just say that I'm really excited about this series that's come through. I'm really excited about ReSounding Wholeness, and you'll hear more about that creation in a little bit. But what I wanted to share with people is that I'm a person throughout most of my adult life who has always been seeking to highlight and support and uplift other people. There's so many different creations that I've done, especially in the last 20 years here in the Nashville area, whether it was songwriter nights, songwriter rounds, collaborating and putting those together, or I had a Friday Night Acoustic Lights, an event where I would bring amazing singer-songwriters together to perform. My women's groups, my circles, Sonia's been part of, but I've always had this desire to uplift and highlight other people. And what I realized as I started doing this ReSounding Wholeness conversation series is that, I started thinking of all the people that I wanted to interview, and I was like, wait a minute, time out, K-Ray, time out, because what I know about myself is like I put so many people before me, and then I get going on a thing, and at some point I go like, where am I in all of this? Mm-hmm. Like, where's my story? Like, and so I decided that it was important for me, in order to feel like I can get my story out of the way and feel like I've told my story, to have the second one be about me. And being able to tell my story. And so as I was in the shower some weeks back, I was like, well, who would I have interview me? And literally the first person that came to mind was Sonia Fernandez Blanc, who I have been so fortunate in coming to know over the last 4 or 5 years, mm-hmm. and more deeply in the recent years. And what I need to tell you is that part of why I chose Sonia is because at some of the most poignant, like star-struck moments of my path with Frame Drum Wisdom and my life, Sonia has been there. She's shown up. She showed up at Oz with her family.
Oh my God, I still wish and dream about Oz. I want that to happen again.
And then the Lightwork Awards in February, before all hell broke loose here in Nashville and all the things shut down. She was there in the audience when so many people, friends, couldn't make it. So, I went about that. So I have a deep, deep, deep gratitude for Sonia for showing up for me at the really important moments in recent years. So thank you, sister, for being there with me and for me.
Well, thank you for offering me this opportunity to help you share your story, because that is like the essence of who I am. I am a storyteller, and my favorite thing on the planet is to talk about myself and to tell my story, right?
And you do it very well.
I feel called, of late in my journey that you have been such a vital part of. I feel called to support other people in telling their story, because we have to do it. And we are in a society that, especially where women are involved, just seen, not heard. Like I want all of that to go away. And I want women to get up on top of cars and shout from the rooftops, yes, what they have done and who they are. And because every time it happens, you get at least one person that's like, oh, that I can relate to that, even if it's just like one little nugget. And then that spirals into something that's their story, which then ripples out. And so anytime I have an opportunity to support stories being told, especially by people that I have had such deep connection to, I jump at it. So thank you for offering this. Before we get going, because are you passing the reins to me now, or do you want to say anything else before I take over and start this?
Asking the questions. Let me just check in here for a moment. Okay. Is there anything else I need to say? I'll just say I'm eternally grateful for this moment in time. Yeah. And yes, you can take it over from here.
All right. Okay. So before we begin the questions and answer period, aka the actual interview, I want to share with you a statement of intention, because it is always important that when we are in a space like this where we are connecting and creating really amazing energy, that we set the intention. And Karen Renée has created this beautiful statement of intention for ReSounding Wholeness, which I believe she shared on the first installment of ReSounding Wholeness a couple of weeks ago. And I believe we'll be continuing to open up this, the floor for these conversations moving forward. So I'm going to share that with you all, and then we will begin. So this is the ReSounding Wholeness statement of intention. In a world that idolizes celebrities, gurus, athletes, fashion, the latest trends, technology, media, and more, it is our goal to highlight human beings who are sharing their unique, incredible soul's purpose and service in the world. While they may not have the biggest following, these courageous beings are making an incredible impact in the world, creating energetic ripples that will collectively serve to move mountains and reshape the future of humanity on this planet. Mm-hmm. We hope to encourage and inspire more people to reconnect with their unique gifts, step into their true soul's calling, take actions to serve humanity, and be a way shower for others at this pivotal time in history and herstory.
Herstory!
Yay!
Yay!
So before we begin the questions, I just want to give just a little snippet, just a little share of my evolution with the wonderful Kay Ray. It's so weird. I always just say Karen Renée, but I know that you go by Kay Ray, and you go, tell me all the things that you go by before we get started, because there are multiple ones, and I think that's important. I think that's important to name your name, all of the names that you hold.
Yes. So Karen was the name I held most of my childhood and early adult life. Renée, I wasn't pleased with Renée for many years until I learned in my early 20s that it meant reborn or rebirth in French. And so I started to embrace Karen Renée. And as I was performing, it was Karen Renée Robb, and people just knew me still called me Karen, but they knew my middle name was Renée. And then in recent years, Karen Renée felt right for me. When I do visual art, I would sign my artwork K Renée. And then in recent years, my dear friends just started calling me K Ray. And a really amazing thing happened when I was at Bhakti Fest in Joshua Tree a few years ago. I was in the tent, and this gentleman had come in, and he was talking to me about my name, Karen. He said, in my language, Karen, do you know what it means? And I said, no. And he said, it means ray, as in ray of sunshine. So that whole idea of K-Ray, Karen, right? It was all connected, and it came through organically, but it's just like, I feel like as I'm embodying who I really am, it is like I'm this ray of light in the world. And I serve to embody that more and more, in my life. So
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I feel like Karen gets a bad rap lately, and I wanna move forward. I wanna move past that because
Yes.
the name that it is always hurtful to me when a name gets twisted that isn't that really serves like a long history in every like culture, in every so I wanted to honor your name and the story of your name's evolution, but also I love that you said, now I wonder what language. That would be so interesting to do but that's a whole rabbit hole to find out what language Karen or that name means, ray of light. But I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yay. Okay. So we met about 5 years ago through a wonderful organization called Poverty in the Arts. And we were at their very first gala. I believe it was the very first one. And I had been doing some volunteering there. My sister had as well. And then you were there as well with your frame drum, and you had an offering in the silent auction. And I won the silent auction offering of a frame drum circle. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But I remember that after you did the performance, you stood in the middle of this room in this old building over in Wedgwood, Houston, I feel. And you took this frame drum and you started singing in it, and it sounded like angels. And I have always had an affinity for that angels on high. I am a recovering Catholic, and I always hated to see people on the altar. I always wanted them back up in the choir loft singing like angels on high over me, right? And that is the sound that your voice made in that frame drum. But then also you've made other sounds too, and like it just rippled out. Literally, I feel like that is going to be our theme today, rippling out. And I went over and I was like, I'm interested in what that is. And then I won it. And then because I am at the height of procrastination in life, and for many years never did anything to like support myself or to take time out for myself to do something fully enjoyable, God forbid, I completely ignored it. And I did not, contact you to take advantage of it. But we became Facebook friends. And a couple of years later, just after the previous election, you posted on your Facebook page that you felt that 2017 needed to be filled with women coming together in community and being in circle. And you were looking for a group of women who could share work, connect, like whatever our callings were, to connect professionally, to connect spiritually, to connect soulfully. And I was in the process of founding this school and was kind of coming out of a pretty low place in my life, and was like, I think I need to say yes, I would like to be a part of this. And then I did, and then I became a part of it, and I went to the first evening group. 25 women. It was a big group. We eventually like kind of scaled down to about 8 over time. But that first, and then we kind of all made decisions about what needed to happen, and then people made their choices about whether they wanted to continue on. But that first night, I remember I sat there and this circle of women, and they started talking about what they did. And I was blown away because I was just like living in a different world. And I was like, you interpret dreams? I'm sorry, I don't, what? And you are a land healer, and what is permaculture? I don't even know what permaculture is. And you are healing PTSD through permaculture. What? And you are a vibrational sound healer. and then somebody was like, I do acupuncture. And I was like, I know
you.
I know what acupuncture is. I know that. I am familiar with, and then somebody was like, I do Reiki. And I was like, oh, I know about Reiki. I have had Reiki done. Like, so I two things, but then it was this expansion moment where I was like, oh, and then it got to me and I was like, I'm founding a self-directed school, a democratic school. And I was like, sorry, that sounds real boring, but I'm doing it. And then a lady in that group said, if I could, I would pay to see you at Zany's. And do you know that the next week, somebody not connected to that group called me to ask me to be in a storyteller's night at Zany's. And I was like,
What?
oh, there's something going on here. I had drank some water that had like completely changed the way I perceive the world. And I do not hate it. And I'm going to continue to come back to this because something's going on here. And can I tell you that literally, like, talk about Pandora's box, broke it open. And that was in January of 2017. And I was in your group for 2 years. And then the second year, 2018, I created my own group and I founded a school, and then have since, we had to close the school for COVID, but have stepped into a spiritual journey that I had always been on, but because I was so traumatized by, or I had allowed the overculture to control everything, and I had allowed myself to live in fear, I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see all those beautiful synchronicities that had been happening my whole life, right? But that moment, it was this, and since then, you have been such an integral part of that weaving of my story, really the unraveling of, I was already unraveling the overculture with my self-directed. I mean, I was already on the liberation path, but my spirit wasn't on the liberation path. I was still like being pulled into a lot of darkness, and there's nothing wrong with darkness. We're going to talk about that. Shadow, it's fine. But I couldn't even see like what the good of the shadow could be. I was dark. And my experience coming into your vicinity and connecting with you, and then connecting with the community that you surrounded yourself with, has just been like just ripples. And so when you asked me to help you tell your story at the beginning of this journey, because this is a new journey for you. This ReSounding Wholeness is a new evolution that you have created, and we're going to talk more about that. But when you said, I want to tell my story and I want it to be there, I was like, yes, because that's all I do is just talk about myself all day long. And then I like to talk about other people too. I like to bring other people in, but I always make sure to get my story told. And that is like part of like who I am. Like, get your story told, get it out there. So with that said, we are going to move into the telling your story part.
Okay.
So, the first question that I have for you is, can you describe what you have been called to do and share a little bit about that with us? And also in that, just describe your work, describe your calling, but then also describe how it has evolved as work, right? Because that's the fascinating part about this. You can make it work.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively and all of it. Yes.
Your calling can be your work.
Yes.
So I am going to step back just a few years, and say that I started out as a voice performance major in college, ended up with a business degree though in materials and logistics management with an emphasis in purchasing. MLM. But it did for me, it was got me into Apple Computer. So right out of college, I moved from Michigan to California to work for Apple Computer. I was at Apple for 2.5 years, and then left Apple to work for DigiDesign. And a lot of people in the music industry know DigiDesign for creating Pro Tools. And I speak about that because basically Pro Tools was at the inception, the beginning of digital music. So I was there helping create the digital music realm in the beginning of time.
That is such a full circle to
Exactly.
what you do now. Yeah.
So then my husband and I moved to Nashville in 2000, in January of 2000. We lived just outside of Nashville, and I started working for Gibson Guitar and Marketing. I was at Gibson for 6 years, and then I went to Griffin Technology, makers of iPod, iPhone, and iPad accessories. So I was always around musicians throughout my career, you know, in the companies I worked for, but I was doing operations, I was doing project management, I was doing marketing, I was doing human resource, I was doing all these different tasks. And I was a kind of a ball buster kind of person. Like I knew a lot of times I was in the room with mostly men, and I was the taskmaster, and I was kind of the person over the years that if I walked in, people were like, cause I was the scheduler, you know, it's like, are you on schedule? Did you do your work when you have it? You know, that kind of personality. And but I would say in the last 10 years, I started shifting. I was like realizing that who I was on the inside and who I was outside of work wasn't really the same. Like I felt like outside of the work, I was very compassionate. I was very cared about people. I was like creating all those different things. Like I was telling you, there's different songwriter rounds and, you know, concerts and things like that, you know, exposing people to beautiful stuff. So in the summer of 2012, I was researching music therapy for Griffin Technology. And kind of long story short, because I don't want it to be too much about that, but I came to be super excited about what I was learning about the power of music to help people heal. And what I really came into awareness of is that it was the live vibrations, music therapists being in the presence of people, of creating music and doing music with people, that was what's really helping them. And I had a profound experience with a dear friend who was passing, Teresa Rose, from cancer. And there was a moment where I was at her apartment where she was in hospice care that I sang for her. And because I knew she wasn't taking all the morphine that she could while she was in hospice care. And in that moment of singing for her, this voice came into my head. You know, I'm sitting on the floor looking up at her in her bed, and she was like obviously feeling better while I was singing. And this voice came in my head that said, this moment with another human being is more important than any of the stuff, the 25-year career I'd had making physical things, that the connection with a human being with music was more important. And so I consider that my aha moment, my calling. Like, because at the time when it was happening, it was just two of us in the room together. God bumps were happening. Like the whole energy in the room was like energized. And you know what I'm talking about. Like just highly, highly energized. When she opened her eyes, she said, Karen, she's like, there were angels all around you while you were singing. She said, there were angels as tall as this building looking in while you were singing. And she was really a woman who was connected to the angelic realm. Not that I can see, but I believed her, you know, in her, and from, you know, since then, we all know people have all sorts of skills and talents that can be beyond belief. But I believed her. And so I left that night just changed energetically. Long story short, I left the corporate realm at the end of 2012 on very good terms with Griffin Technology, with the clear understanding that I was supposed to advocate for the power of live sound and vibration. Now, I didn't know how I was supposed to do that. I just knew that I was supposed to do that. And it was in January of 2013 that a dear friend sent me a TEDx talk by a woman named Eliana Gilad. And Eliana was talking to a room full of women about reclaiming voice. And I'm going to pick up my drum for just a moment. She was in this room full of women talking about reclaiming voice. And she had this drum. She had a frame drum, but at the time I didn't know what it was. I just saw this thing that she was playing. So she was playing the drum, and then at some point, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. At some point, she did this. She sang into the head of the drum, and I was like immediately, I'm supposed to do that. Like, that is it. And I didn't even know what it was. So I had to connect with her to find out what kind of drum it was.
That's that angelic song. That's it. That's the voice.
That's the
And I heard that in 2015, you were holding that drum in the middle of that room, and that's the sound that came out of your mouth. And I was like, looking around, like, where am I? This is amazing.
It fills spaces like you can't believe. It totally, and the vibration. So a long story short, I connected with Eliana on Facebook. I found out what kind of drum it was. I went to Forks Drum Closet in Nashville, got my first drum. This is literally the first drum I ever tried to sing into, and it sang beautifully. It rang beautifully. Of course, no one at Forks Drum Closet had ever seen or heard anyone do that before. And so it was just fascinating. So kind of I started singing in the drum, and I realized that the effect it was having on me was that it was reducing mental chatter. Like singing for 4 or 5 minutes into that drum, having the vibration come back to me would literally make my mind go to presence and no drama in my mind, no chatter. I was like, that's amazing. And then at one point I started drumming with the drum in my living room, just simply because the frame drum technique, doing the traditional drumming, is kind of complicated. And I just picked up a mallet and started drumming. And at some point the drum went in front of me. I felt the vibration moving through me, and I was like, oh, another aha moment. Like the one I had with my friend Teresa Rose. Like I'm standing there drumming over myself. I'm thinking, I have friends who are Reiki practitioners, energy workers, and I've been a yoga student for 20 plus years. I go, sound vibration and we're the whole idea of getting the chakras moving, the energy flowing in the right way. I'm like, sound vibration can do the same thing. And I think it was a combination of having researched music therapy, my own personal experiences, feeling the vibration, knowing that I was supposed to advocate for live sound and vibration, that it was like all coming together. So I intuitively started drumming over people, doing what I call sound vibration massage. So the effects are phenomenal. Like I can have people as relaxed as a full body massage in 4 or 5 minutes time, just drumming over and around their bodies. And it's deeper than a physical massage because the vibration's actually moving through your organs, through every aspect of you. Yes. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, like all levels. It can. And so I was so amazed by the effect that I started teaching it. So frame drum wisdom literally came into existence, like got the drum in January. By February or March, it was like, I know what it's called. It's happening. I got my friend to, make my frame drum wisdom logo for me, based on a lot of different symbolisms that had been coming up for me. So literally the last 8 years have been me in so many different ways, from birth to hospice care, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, special needs, women's groups, basically you name it, any kind of place that I could facilitate. I've been bringing drums and instruments and sound to help people feel what live vibration is, because the digital age has messed it up for us. We as human beings, as what I like to call water bubbles, have lost the connection to live vibration of nature, of the elements that we are, So anyway, I've been teaching these techniques. And then, people know Frank, the psychic Frank.
Castellano.
Yes. So Frank, you'd be amazed. Like that first year, that 2013, some months into me starting to do this, I had a session with him. The one and only session I've had with him, and I would love to have more, but he's always so booked. Anyway, Frank told me during that session, like, you're going to be creating some sort of drum, some sort of sound vocalization that's going to be known all over the world. And like, he was saying all this stuff, and I was like, what? You know, like, here I am just starting to go, ah, drumming, you know, and he's telling me this, and I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm doing something interesting with drums, but all over the world, I don't know. So fast forward to some years, right, Sonia?
Well, because I'm gonna interject here.
Okay, please do.
Because during one of our meetings,
Yeah,
came to us because we would do check-ins at the beginning of each meeting, and one of those meetings you came in and you were like, my check-in is a fruition of and I didn't know that that was Frank who had communicated that, but you said, I was told years ago that this would evolve and it would expand out and it would become international. And I am going to have this article in this magazine that is going to go all across the world. It was from my, I guess it was from my,
yeah,
and which is the drum, and you'll talk more about that. But and you had said, you were like, I am flabbergasted because this is literally this coming to like reality.
Yes. And I have to say,
I'm
one woman still working out of my house, wondering how the heck am I going to pay the bills? Like, I just keep going. Anyway, so, right, I like some years into it, my dear friend Angel started working for Meinl, and the Meinl Sonic Energy line came into being, and I was the first dealer she signed up because she knew that my power and passion and my drive and what I was doing with the drums was unique. And so I've been a Meinl Sonic Energy dealer now for 3 years. And literally have been known at some level around the world because of the catalog, because I'm part of their website and I'm selling these drums and getting the messages out. So,
and that's where you learned about Karen, because you were at
yes,
Joshua Tree at one of the
festival. Exactly.
Sharing all of that. I remember watching it on, because you would do Facebook Lives, both you and Angel were doing the lives, and people were coming in from everywhere.
Oh my gosh. And Bhakti Fest was magic. Like Bhakti Fest, the energy of Bhakti Fest is what we hope someday the planet can be. It's like, it's so surreal and so beautiful. You have a thought about like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. And all of a sudden some human being comes in and is like, hey, would you like, I can't finish this. Do you want, or I have extra of this or that. You're like, life just flows in the way that we know is possible, but it really was happening all the time. The magical moments would happen, and the energy was that cosmic yumminess there. And so I've been working this for so many years, and slowly growing and continuing to do classes and drum sales and private sessions and all of that. So that's kind of it. It's like my goal, and it's basically mostly women come to me. There are some men that will come to my classes, but they're generally men who are more balanced, sort of in their feminine, masculine. They're massage therapists, they're psychotherapists, they're that type of people that are already in that kind of line of work. But mostly women of a certain age, I would say, or going through a transformational point in their life come to me. And come to do the stuff that I do. And I think it's important to kind of talk about that as we continue on. We're going to continue on the discussion that people come and they do this work, and they are literally, their lives are torn up.
Yeah. Well,
either they're ready to go or they're about to go.
It's interesting that you say that, because that is a good segue into this next question.
Yes.
But in this next question, I'm going to ask you to read something to me.
Okay.
So I want to talk about that, because we are in a shift that is every single human being on this planet in 2020 there is something happening. Okay. And from every range, low to high, expansion to contraction. We're all in it. We're all in different places with it. Okay. We are in, I've been calling it the great paradigm shift of 2020. Okay. We have all, this is like my belief system. We are a bridge generation. So we are on this earth. We are embodied on this earth right now. Every human being who's listening to this, every human being who's not listening to this, we have chosen to embody. I don't care what you believe, but that is the truth. That is my truth, and that is fine. We all have truths. We have chosen to embody on this earth and to be here in this shift. And we are not going to see the culmination of the shift in our lifetime. Okay. We also were not a part of it getting to where it is now, right? So we did not create the madness that it is now. And we are not going to survive in this embodiment to see the full, beautiful fruition. Okay. So we have selected to embody in a really effed up time. I'm not going to curse because I don't want to, okay. But we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I want you to talk to me about the impact of that, but I also want your work and your evolution within this. But I want to be clear in that we have gone through all of our stories to get to this moment. Okay. And if we can like unravel the thread, all of us can do this back. Okay. Into our lives. Yes. We will see the threads that have us where we are here. And we can also see the pattern, because we all have patterns. And you know that when you create something, sometimes you don't stick with the pattern. Like we have free will. We don't have to stick with the pattern. But you will see that there are threads that will help you move forward in the shift with what you are supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And I want you to read to us what you found from 25 years ago, if you would.
Okay.
Before you share with us how this paradigm shift has impacted you and your work. I want that to be, if you are okay with that. If that is,
absolutely.
Feels,
that sounds great.
Okay.
What I want to say quickly is, is that I have throughout the course of these 8 years, it's like honed in on my spiritual guidance. Like I stepped off the corporate ledge solely on spirit's guidance. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to do it. And all the time I'm listening for guidance. And I have been a spiritual seeker, a learner since probably the day I came on the planet, but really more importantly, starting in college. So I've always been sort of working on my spiritual evolution and trying to figure out who I am. But I came across this document as ReSounding Wholeness started coming into my realm of sphere of understanding. I was like, there's some document I have somewhere that speaks to this idea of wholeness, of being some sort of helper of wholeness. And I have this binder that's sort of tucked in the back shelf of my closet that I pulled out that has different papers and different, my human design report that I pulled, 10 years ago, whatever, and this document was in there. And I know for a fact that I did it in 25 years ago. And it's like my mission and vision statement. And this is this first section that I was like, OMG, because I literally haven't looked at this in probably maybe 20 years at least. Personal goals, what I would like to accomplish in my life, in my work, women and girls, bringing forth beauty, power, and self-esteem from within. Now, I was working at DigiDesign at this point, y'all. I was not doing this.
Right.
Teaching and encouraging young girls self-esteem through the power of singing and music. Administrator of wholeness and well-being. Balance of mind, body, emotions, and spirit. Counseling people to remember and pursue their dreams using their God-given talents. Uncover your true soul purpose and make it a reality. The key to health, joy, and life fulfillment. For everyone, the balance of feminine and masculine. Love, the source that never ends, we choose to turn it off and on. Beauty and simplicity, teaching by being, be an example. Unity. All people have the right to live together in peace with respect and the freedom to follow their God-given dreams.
That is, I wanted to, you read that to me a little while ago, and I wanted you to reread it here, because that is writing down. That is the power of documenting this right here and putting it on the paper, regardless of where you are on your journey, regardless of where you are in your life, regardless of how dark it feels. All you have to do is put the pen to the paper to type it out. And once it releases itself from right here, it then, it's a spell. It's a spell. It is a spell.
Yes.
And we are looking at you in 2020. And so much of that has evolved. You have listened, and you have honed it, and you have created it. But the administrator of wholeness and well-being is just, because I feel like that's what this is becoming, this resounding wholeness.
Yes.
It has come to you in this paradigm shift, right? Yeah. And is kind of the evolution of frame drum wisdom.
Absolutely. I'm finding that I did an apprenticeship program, my first apprenticeship program for frame drum wisdom last year in 2019, and I have another program happening in 2020. And what I realized wholeheartedly is that people were telling me, you need to have a certification process. You need to certify people to be frame drum wisdom facilitators. And I was like, hell no. I'm not going to certify anyone to be anything. The only thing I want them to be is true to themselves. I want them to find out who they really are. I don't want them to get a piece of paper that says that they can go out and drum and sound and hold circles the way I hold circles, because no one's going to do it like me. Not that I'm super special, but everyone's going to bring their own flavor and their own selves to whatever they're called to do. So the idea of an apprenticeship program came to me, where it's like, yeah, I'll teach and share with you the things that I do with sound and circles and drumming and all that, but really it's up to you to decide what to do with that information. And what I found in 2020, all the things about 2020.
Woo! I'm gonna drink some water to that.
Yeah.
We just all need to drink water through 2020. Take a breath.
Okay, first of all, I was never going to do digital online classes. Never.
Oh, right. Because
everything I do is about live vibration.
Right.
And about the feeling, what happens when we're in the room doing this together. Mm-hmm. So COVID. Oh, I love COVID so much. I don't love it. I don't love the horror, but all of the self-awareness, all of the, and for empaths, having time alone and not having to justify it and make it wrong, right, and heal in the aloneness, in their own little bubble, there's
the
some
hermit energy is just powerful.
Okay. I have right. Mm-hmm. So, so backtrack. So go back to the international thing. So in January, a dear friend of mine who works for Gibson Guitar, Alex Madrid, told me when she came to visit, she'd been living in Europe for 10 to 12 years. In January, she told me, she says, Karen, she's like, you are famous in Europe. And I was like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, when I tell them that I know Renée Robb, they're like, you know Renée Robb? Because of my frame drum work, because of my exposure in Meinl, there's in the sound healing realm and the frame drum communities, people know who I am. But I was like, well, okay, so if I'm known over there, how do I, I'm not flying over there anytime soon. I decided that I bought Zoom. I bought Zoom in February with the intention of someday during the course of 2020, slowly developing programs that would be able to reach people in other parts of the world. And then March hit and it was like, shut down. So I've been having to teach virtually, and I'm learning the benefits of that. More exposure, having people in other countries coming into my classes, you know, endless things. The other thing that was so cool that I had resisted so much is that people are in their house having to do this stuff. And the hardest thing I think I've had with this idea of sound for yourself is people's concern about what their family or friends will think. And so many won't do it in their house. They would come to my gatherings and they wait for my gatherings to do it. And so the beauty of having to do it from Zoom and in their own home is they're doing it in their own home. And then they're having to practice on their family members, which means their family members are getting exposed to it, which means it's being normalized.
Right.
Right? Which never would have happened.
Oh my God. I'm totally going to have to buy a drum from you. You know, I haven't ever done it. I haven't ever bought the drum.
Not yet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your girls are going to be like all the time on
we have a lot of drums because Tommy plays the steel drum. That's my husband. Anyway, he plays the steel drum and he wants a steel drum, and that's like, I'm like, we're gonna have to save up for that because those things are expensive. But I'm just saying. Okay.
So back to that. So my apprenticeship program this year, for the first 2 weekends, they're all women that are in Michigan and the Illinois area. And I was going to be traveling to Michigan 4 times this year for long weekends of training. And so the first 2 had to be virtual. So I've had to adjust, pivot, y'all. It's like, okay, I have all of these resources. I have all of these skill sets. Okay, how do and all of that experience of 25 years in the corporate realm and like putting it all together and saying, okay, I can do this.
Integration.
Integration of all.
This year. It's the spirit. It's the lie that we can't connect. And keep going, because you're about to say that the connections have been like you've never experienced, probably. Okay, go.
So that, and then meanwhile, I'm always constantly doing my own self growth and learning about myself more, adding in other tools. They come in, the human design turns into gene keys, and I'm sharing, I literally, all this information comes in, I'm sharing it with my apprenticeship program people. I'm like, that wasn't necessarily part of my program, what I thought I was doing, but Spirit says, yes, here it is, go. Because it's all connected to people connecting with their soul's purpose.
Yes.
Why the F are you here? What did you come here to do? It's time to trust Spirit that you will be taken care of as you step fully into why you came here, and be an aspect of Creator in a much more glorious and profound way. So ReSounding Wholeness. I have all these classes and courses that I'm doing online and trying different things, right? And then this beautiful woman, Karina reaches out to me after she watched me do some online meditation sounding vocalization thing that she totally moved her. She's like, I need you to do an event with my women, my friends. It's going to be a small event. You got to come. And she's like, what are you going to call it? What is it called? And I'm like, all of a sudden, I have so many different names to the things that I already written. All of a sudden, ReSounding Wholeness. It came out of my mouth. I was texting to her. ReSounding Wholeness, remembering and embodying sound for healing and well-being. So I created and she's like, that sounds great. So I created a flyer for her at ReSounding Wholeness. And then I'm like, weeks ago, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing.
This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing with people. It's not just the sound. It is sound. That's a big part of it, but it's so much more than that.
Right. It's the drum. It's still the frame drum. It's still the wisdom, but there's a level. It's like an energetic leveling, which is happening globally. It's happening globally. And so many are feeling it, and some of us are like, yeah, like, you know, like, let's go on the ride, and some are still pulling. And so talk to me about that. Talk to me about family, friends,
Okay.
how they connect to that shift. And or keep telling me more about ReSounding Wholeness, but then evolve into, or kind of make your way into how all of this has been in connecting within your community, previous and new community, and all the combinations.
So to me, ReSounding Wholeness brings in a lot more aspects of me, because I'm an artist. I love to help people heal and connect with their soul through creative expression and special, unique tools and everything. So going back to when I first stepped out of the corporate realm, you know, I was raised, you know, pretty traditionally of the safe route. You go to college, you get a degree, you go to work, you have insurance, you have, you know, stability, you have a great, right? And so when it came time for me, like, spirits called me up, I gotta go. I probably didn't have the best conversation with my husband about it. He'll definitely tell you I didn't have the best conversation with him. Because I was like, I'm done. I had a severance package that came with it that made it a little easier at first, but for him, it was like horrible. For him, he was like, I don't know who you are anymore. I like everything was fine. Our life was fine. You left, and now you have this drum, and you're going, like, I don't know who you are. And I also was going through a dark night of the soul. I'll be totally honest with you. I got the drum right before the deepest, darkest 7 gates of hell and Nana mythology, you know, the process. So literally the last 7-8 years of my life have been the descent that Nana took. Okay. And 8 is my symbol. 8 is my symbol. And so it's like the star of Inanna is the 8-pointed star. So there's so much symbology in that. So it was very difficult for my husband. I was fortunate that my parents got to witness me doing the stuff that I do, and they got it. Mm-hmm. So I had the support of my parents through this whole process. You know, the shift, the evolution of Karen to Karen, Renee, and Ray. Like, they've been supportive, which I know a lot of people, if they have traditional family, like, right, but they were very good. So that was helpful. So throughout the course of youth, like we've talked about, throughout the course of my process, it's like I've lost so many friends or people that I thought were my friends, you know, in this. And part of the challenge is when you go into these really amazing healing modalities is that you are working on a spiritual level. And so we're also yearning to feel connected and heard and seen, that when I meet people, they're drawn to me. I think they're my soul friend. I think that they're going to be with me for a long time. And that I finally opened myself up to a deeper connection with someone. Mm-hmm. When many, many times I was there for a season for them. A reason and a season. Right. Period. And so there was a number of different relationships where I thought they were my be all and end all. We were BFFs. And then they were gone. And then I was heartbroken. Right. And so that pattern is sort of like happened many, many times. Enough for now. Now it's like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. I am really, the K-Ray really has far more power than she really understands or has been willing to own. And that it's like I'm starting to have to discern who is a client, who is someone who needs me for a season, who needs me for a reason, a moment in time, and be really, really choosy about who I consider those long-term friendships.
Yeah.
So I don't continue to have heartbreak. And as a healer person, that is such a very important thing. It's like, you're not there to like fix them. You're there to empower them to fix themselves. Right. You're empowering them to heal themselves. And so the dynamics of relationships just get a little bit more challenging to maneuver or understand. But at the same time, when you allow yourself to level up, holy moly, the people that come into your world, that are your, like, and again, it'll be for a period of time, because every time you up level, it's like, it's just continues to be another level of like beings that you engage with, and you have to come to terms with letting them go. And
that's really like, because we all, we all have unique gifts. Every single one of us, right? Every single human being on this earth has a unique gift. And it is our soul's journey to discover and to then bring it forth for ourselves, for other. We're all going to have different paths, right? And because our overculture is so indoctrinating and so conditions us from so early on to push down most of those gifts, because they are not in keeping with what's going to keep us all moving forward and everybody making money and like success and all the things, right? What I see a lot of times when people are making this decision to like level up, a lot of times it is a lot. There is such grieving and loss. And I think that that's happening right now on a lot of levels and people don't even realize, like, some of us, we know it's coming because we've been doing it for a minute, but some people are like, I have decided that like, I need to be at my house and I don't want to continue to do this, or I don't want my kids to go back into school, or I want to keep a little bit of what this felt like. And then we're seeing it on a national level in like just, the mask controversy, right? I mean, there's so many little things, but I always make the joke, and it's really not a funny joke, whenever I'm working with anybody who's like going on this journey or embarking on this like radical self-awareness journey, I'm like, please, I hope that you don't have to get a divorce, because that's a real thing, right? Like, that's a real thing. So you talked about he didn't know what to do. Now, I have known people that they are done. Like, they have to move on and they have to walk away. And because it wasn't fine for you. Like, it was not fine for you. And you changed the game because it was not fine, and you began to listen to yourself. My
soul was saying, this is not, you can't fulfill why you came here if you keep sitting at Griffin Technology behind a desk being told what to do and having projects pulled out from, no, it's like, it just, and go ahead.
And so no, that's my, so eventually he evolved as well, or understood or saw that you were happy, or
I think the biggest challenge was he wasn't necessarily seeing me being happy. He saw me because I was going to the
journey down
dark night. And the other thing is, like, I kept having all of these people come in my life and have the trauma of them coming in and out. And he's like, what are you doing? That, like, he almost could see these people were going to hurt me before it happened.
His intuition was a different kind of intuition than yours was.
Right.
And
he sees the patterns of my life. We've been together for 30 years.
Yeah.
So, but I was just like, I gotta be me. I gotta do this. This is what I'm supposed to do. And he didn't understand. So I think it was as success. I think it goes back to that. What does success look like? As money shows up, as things, I get more attention or more like awareness. Then he started to go, okay, this is and saw that I wasn't stopping.
Right.
I think it
We're
comes
committed to it,
I'm
right?
committed to it. I'm not stopping. And I think that has sort of helped shift and conversation and better communication skills. But I'll tell you, the number of women that would come to my gatherings who would get divorced, like they were just primed they were ready. They were tired.
They were ready.
As they started speaking out and speaking up, it's like,
Yeah.
whoever they were with, it was just no getting through it. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I want to go back to, it's like, I feel very fortunate with the situation with COVID and what's transpiring, this great awakening, is that I started it. To me, I think the big pattern, it started 10 years ago, but really when I stepped off the corporate realm and didn't have the corporations taking care of me anymore, and I had to figure out how to take care of myself and trust spirit, trust creator, trust something unseen moving through me, that led me to be like, when in this time, I'm like going, well, it's not really any different. Yeah, I have to do classes on here, and I have to be careful and mask and protect myself from certain things, but I'm living like I was living before. I was already trusting, and so many human beings on this planet right now haven't been.
Yeah, they're in such fear.
They were zombies and they didn't know they were zombies.
I had that reckoning. I don't like zombie movies. Like, I don't like Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I always would make the joke that I don't like Walking Dead because I don't want like I don't like that. But I realized that in this thing, it's because we already were. We already were Walking Dead. Like, we already were living like humanity was living as zombies. And once we got to stop for like 2 seconds, all this stuff started happening, right? And I mean, it's why it's so discontent now, because I think people were like, like everybody got a little like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The curtains open and we're all seeing clearly.
Right. But I think what's so fascinating is I want to be mindful of time, because Facebook Live, does it cut us off? Would we need to go back on, or
I don't know. I've never gone that long to know.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep going and see what happens. It'll tell us.
Yes.
I want to, so we've talked about when you're sharing these gifts, like how, friends and family, that you have to create, you got to work on your boundaries, especially in empathic realm, like, because a lot of us are empathic, and that has its own layer. Those have its own layers of boundaries that are separate, even, I think, than like the work. Like, so people are having to figure out, like, what are you doing? Right? Like, you quit your job, you're singing in the frame drum.
Right.
And also you're this empathic person that's taking in this energy, that's connecting, because so much of it is connecting one-on-one or like in small groups with people, and taking their energy and then giving your energy, and that is draining, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's boundaries that have to be set, and there's like the balance. Talk to me about your connection to balance in this new iteration of 2020 and moving into 2021.
Yeah.
It's so vital, I think, for us.
Well, I feel like I've grown so much from a spiritual level, and my energy is so much more heightened and alive. And I feel like part of that is because I haven't been around other human beings. Going back to that empathic thing, like since I was a child, I was, checking the room out, whether I knew it or not, energetically, who's feeling what way, because people weren't telling me the truth of how they were feeling, but I could feel it. And so, when I first started doing the virtual Zoom classes was when I really noticed how much I would read a room energetically. And on Zoom, it was harder, like, the physical beings aren't here. It's like, I can't quite tell how they're, so then I started realizing how much I utilize that sense, in my everyday thing. I also am more conscious now of how much I when I'm with people, how much more conscious I am, that energy can affect me. So it is balancing more. I'm going to be doing, I can't even say how I'm going to do it, because until things really open up more fully and I have the option of really freely doing physical events again, I will definitely change it up, where I won't do, I won't, and learning the techniques of really protecting my bubble. And learning about relationships, like who do I really want to share my deepest stuff with, and who am I just there to help them reflect what they need and not get entangled or involved in their life.
Right.
Really, I think this is a big time where people are like going, really, you have to take responsibility for yourself. I can give you tools, I can share things with you, but ultimately you have to be committed to doing the work, because it's your life you're trying to save, not mine.
Right.
And it's your life you're trying to create, not emulate mine.
It's this idea of an energetic exchange, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, what kind of energetic exchange are you wanting? And like, relationship and energetic exchange go hand in hand. And those boundaries and that balance, I think a lot of times, because we still live in a society where we have to pay our bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that part of creating that balance and those boundaries comes with the energetic exchange, which is money, right? And when money is involved, that gives really clear boundaries, right? And balance. And I think it's also something that we in these communities feel some ways about, right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to get over this, the stigma a lot of times of these energetic exchanges, because we're all friends, because that isn't that entangles. That is an entanglement.
Right.
Hugely entangling. So if you're going to create a group, like I loved the group that you created. It was free, right? I mean, it was a free, like we all came together, but there were elements of it where people wanted to, there were times when it felt like there was dumping.
Yes.
Okay?
Therapy.
Sometimes, or it was a therapy session for specific, and that's not what it was supposed to be, right? And so that energetic exchange, it gets messy and it gets tangled, right? Yeah. So we want to create these experiences, and we want to connect, and we want those ripples to happen. But let's talk about money and how that we can use that as an energetic exchange to create those boundaries.
Yes. Well, if, when I first started out, because like I was in this place where, well, no one's doing sound vibration massage. No one's doing drum sound circles the way I'm doing. They're doing drum circles, but drum circles are usually free on a Friday night with, with a certain energy. And that's not what my drum circles are about. So it was like, I would go, well, like, what are yoga classes? I would try and figure out, well, what is it kind of sort of like? Or what is a massage? If I'm doing a private session, what does the massage cost? If I'm, to kind of figure that out. And I'm still, even all these years later, trying to figure out the right numbers. I know how much I won't, do stuff for less than $100 an hour.
Right.
And that goes back to when I was in the corporate realm. Like it was so easy for me to realize when I was being underpaid. All I had to go online is say like, well, what does a person with this job title in this region make? And there's the range. And I'm like, well, I'm at the bottom and I should be at the top because I'm right. So it's kind of it's a game, you have to, what is your self-worth? Like, and how often do you want to work? It's a part of me is like, I'm doing all of this work. I keep showing up for $20 an hour from a person. And I'm inclined to try and, get enough money to pay the bills. Well, I realize now after 8 years and 25 years of corporate experience that I'm not going to do that anymore, and that I want to have time for myself. So my desire is to create things where on a Saturday, I make half the amount of money I need for the month.
For the month, right?
For the month. And the thing is how I do it now is I teach classes. So there's service and I have product. So multiple streams, people who are doing these, going into these soulpreneur worlds have to think of multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
We really do. You know, and if it's like, for me, this is my soul work. This is all I do.
Right.
You know, and not everyone is in that place. But
exactly.
And I'll go back to, like, if you're starting out doing these energetic sessions, like you're finally coming out of the closet and go like, yeah, I see dead people, and I'm gonna finally let people know I see dead people.
And I'm gonna ask people if they want me to see their dead people, and pay me for that, because I have a lot of things to say about it.
Right? And if you want to have your life be fully what you're here to do, then you need to start asking for money. The other thing is, women have the tendency to go like,
oh, I know.
So we have to, everyone's got, so many more people are going to be doing this energetic work, and we're still living in the 3D, y'all. We're just not there. We're bridges. Like she said, Sonia, there's a bunch of us that are bridges. We're helping us get to the next level, and you may not see it in your lifetime. Make sure you have a house. Make sure you have food. Make sure you have the supplies you need to do the work that you're doing, and be with people in your life who value that. Magnetize to yourself the people who value your time and energy, your expertise, your sacred skills.
And when you're speaking your truth, and when you're telling your story, you draw that. That is a way to magnetize it, is, stepping into it and owning it and saying it, and explaining. Like, I know that there have been moments where I have been like, energetically, I wanna, I do little tarot, I wanna pull these cards for you, but it takes a lot out of me, right? Yeah. And I have to have some energy. So and I need to, like, it's Christmas, and I need to actually buy a ham for the table. You know what I'm saying? And we are in a society where we have no qualms about pressing one button and Amazon dropping whatever we want at our door, right? That is stuff, that is material, that there is nothing wrong with that. I am not like judging anybody for that. But you can you drink up a Starbucks like that. And it's, you'll spend $50 at a Starbucks in a month. Well, the people that are doing these things and creating things, what we're doing, what you are doing, what the people that you are going to be talking to in the future in this are going to be sharing, it is as vital as a doctor's appointment. It is as vital as chemotherapy. I think it can prevent you from getting chemotherapy.
You knowing who you are.
Yeah. And it deserves some, and I feel like we talked about this, like in ancient times, people that were doing this work for communities.
Yes.
And I mean, it happens. I mean, I told you I was a recovering Catholic. It happens. And the priests get paid.
Yes.
They don't get paid, but they get cars, and they get a nice place to live, and they get to not have to,
We were saying that, like, even in the indigenous communities, the people that are the medicine people, are cared for by their communities.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're not like in the position, I'm not in the position to be cared. My community is like, I have these invisible people, invisible entities that are helping me. Like, they can't give me money to like pay my mortgage. So,
right.
Yeah.
But it's not, and we're not like saying that we're, indigenous shaman. That is not what we're saying.
No.
We're saying that for anything, there is a gift. You would not hop in a car of an Uber and not pay them for using your car. So energetically, what we're going to do to pull out the energy that we need to offer to support whatever it is that we're choosing to energetically heal or support, there has to be that exchange. And
there are times when, I can sense when a person, might have an issue of paying full price for what I do. And especially during COVID, sliding scale, like
absolutely. Multiple
range. You pay
payment over the course of a month, right?
Yeah.
Or a certain amount of months. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always that. I love it. But your worth.
And I want to go back quickly to what you said about telling your story, and that thing of why I even did this, have you interview me, is because if you have gifts, if you have, and you want to start acting and being who you really are in the world and have it be your work, you have to be willing to tell people about yourself. You have to get beyond the thing of like, oh, I don't want to, make me sound like I have a big ego, or I don't want to, like, I don't want to, it's like, if you can't market, if you can't speak to who you are and why you're here and what you're doing, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to actually activate and own who you really are in the world.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
You got to be able to use your voice and share,
mm-hmm.
and be vulnerable and be courageous in being willing to step out. And the beautiful thing, though, is versus even 8 years ago, the whole sound healing thing is like skyrocketing. There's so many sound baths and sound healers, and like that's just becoming the thing, right? 8 years ago, it was like, what do you do? So that's shifting, but that's the same thing with all of this energy work. It's like everyone's changing so quickly,
mm-hmm.
and it's becoming more acceptable. You come to one of my circles and you say, I see dead people, or I see energy. I'm like, I'm fascinated. I want to know more. Yeah. I want those things to come out. I want people to use their gifts for good on the planet. So,
and children
are coming in.
Honor the children who are saying these things, because they will become our greatest healers on every level. And I mean, like, every level. Yeah. We didn't talk about bartering, but how do you feel? Like, what happens when I come and I'm like, can I do a tarot for you and you do a blah, blah, blah? Like, how does that work? How do you feel personally?
Pretty much only with friends, people I know. Yeah. At this point, I haven't done much bartering. I don't need any more stuff. I don't need more stuff.
Yeah.
And I could potentially want sessions, but I'm really particular about who I let work on me.
Right. Because that's it all.
I'm even more clear about how important it is to have someone with integrity.
Yeah. Their energetic boundaries, like all of that. So I do feel like it always feels like I need to just get.
Yeah, I just need some cash.
Yeah. Pay the bills. Okay. I got to pay the bills.
There you go.
What do you hope, we're winding down now, what do you hope to convey to the people who are listening to this conversation, to the ones moving forward, in this resounding wholeness conversations realm? What is your stance?
So it really is about understanding that every human life is valuable. Everybody, like, we have this culture that looks to other human beings for their direction, for their entertainment, for their reason for being, like, and we have to come back to who am I, and how can my gifts help change the world? Like, recognizing that everybody's vital. This pattern, this flower of life pattern, to me is us humanity, is like the whole of creation, the whole of humanity. All of us are one spirit, and we're all aspects. We're all these little circles within there, and like cells in the body. We need every cell functioning at its highest and best in order for the whole to be functioning at its greatest potential. So it's this idea of, you have a place where you can come and try different things or hear different people who are being bold and stepping into their unique wild paths, and know that you're not alone if you step out into that. And that resounding wholeness is sounding, is vocalizing, is balancing, is becoming whole and holy on the planet, and know that there are other people that are doing it and forging ahead and are willing to give you a hand to help you along the way, or willing to reach back to you to, you know, to help you. It's a community. It's a safe place. Hopefully a safe place for people to just hear and be inspired.
Like a reunification, really.
Yes.
Back together.
Yes.
Like, but through your own individuation.
Yes.
I love
Because
it.
it was necessary. It's always been necessary. What you came to the planet to do has been necessary. And it's time to activate it. So
Yeah. And your soul chose to come here right
yes.
now. And it chose the people that you're around. And okay, so what do you have coming up? What are some delicious projects?
Things that are coming up real quickly. I had to write some things down. So I'm continuing some frame drum wisdom classes. I am going to be creating more of these resounding wholeness conversations. I'm going to plan the first kind of big program besides the conversation is I feel like I'm going to be doing an 8 or 9 month program for a small group of people. That's going to be really more about, it'll have some frame drum wisdom stuff in it, but it'll also have human design and other aspects of how we get in touch with who we really are and be a supportive network, helping each other, uplift each other, and over a long period of time. I have a lot of marketing skills that I can share with people and do different things to just try and help people elevate themselves and bring themselves to the next level. So that's where it is with Resounding Wholeness. But truly what's important is always letting spirit guide me. It's like I don't plan out very far in advance anymore, because spirit's constantly telling me, you know, giving me guidance on what I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of the core of the Resounding Wholeness thing. Yeah.
I love it. If we want to connect and find out more and follow you so that we can hear what spirit is communicating to you and be one of the first ones to know about it before it gets gobbled up by other people who are connecting, how can we do that? Where do we find you?
So I am on Facebook here under Frame Drum Wisdom and Resounding Wholeness. I have websites for both, framedrumwisdom.com, resoundingwholeness.com. I have an Instagram account under Frame Drum Wisdom. I might end up doing a Resounding Wholeness Instagram, but again, I don't want to get too many places, right? I may just find that Resounding Wholeness just gets integrated into Frame Drum Wisdom in a beautiful way. I have a YouTube channel under Frame Drum Wisdom. They can email me at Karen Renee, KarenRenee at framedrumwisdom.com if they have any questions or want to connect. And I also have a monthly newsletter that they can sign up for on my homepage of Frame Drum Wisdom, where I send out only once a month. Every once in a while I'll send 2 emails out, but I really don't like being bombarded by lots of email from people. So I'm really mindful of just keeping it right on task of these are what's happening. These are the things you can sign up for. I do want to quickly say though, I have a couple of new things happening that are very exciting for me that I want to say. One of which is I've created a senior voice and sound class. The first one is going to be in September on the 14th. We're finding in my own family that elderly people are losing their voice even more during social distancing times. And so my father was one. My mom was like, he's not talking enough. So he's clearing his throat. His voice isn't strong. So I've created a program, just an hour fun sounding experience and breath experience where people are going to be sounding and toning and playing together with sound to try and really help them keep their strength up. And I follow that up with a list of those activities for them to be able to practice on their own. And then the other very exciting thing, I've always said from birth to death, there's applications for what I share. this month I got approval for my first International Childbirth Education Association accredited course with Frame Drum Wisdom.
That's so exciting.
So the childbirth community, is going to be doulas and midwives and childbirth educators are going to be able to start taking Frame Drum Wisdom classes as credited classes for their continuing education.
That's
First class happens in October in Knoxville.
wow.
So from birth to death and everywhere in between.
Everywhere in between.
Yes.
Love it. Your first aha was that song with the angels at Teresa Rose's deathbed. And here we are in October of 2020.
Bringing it to the babies and the mamas.
Babies and mamas.
And so they will be like living that from the moment they're born. There'll be drums in the house. Drums in the house. People know how to use them.
I love it.
Yeah. This is my world.
Tell me, what else do you want to share before we wrap up? Or did you get everything? Do you have anything else you want to drop for us, wisdom-wise?
I don't know if there were any questions, but we'll look back. We'll look back at that afterwards and answer any questions just to keep this. It's already an hour and a half. Right. So no, I think I just am really super grateful for this time with you, Sonia, and I just want to encourage people to there's so many different avenues to find out, to really dig deep and learn more about yourself. There's so many tools available and people that you can talk to. And to me, just allowing yourself to have conversation about the wacky, wild things that are happening in your world or in your life with someone, can help make yourself feel comfortable to step into your new reality and help create this new reality. How about you, Sonia? Do you want to share a little bit about what's happening in your world, just how people can reach out to you too, because you're doing some phenomenal stuff too.
Okay, well, so my Instagram is at Soel _Fetole FETOLE, and then you can also find me at To the Revolutions. That's my podcast that I just started. It's called Revolutions, All Definitions Apply, and it's on any podcast that you can, go to. And then my website is revolutions.me, and I have on there all of my offerings, and I'm going to be adding them as the fall moves on. But I have a course that is on retrieval, self-soul story, and it's just kind of like if you are jumping off and you are interested in just surface, like all the different possibilities to really understand who you are. That's what this is. It really was kind of my own, like I wanted to put all my ducks in a row, all the things that I had learned, and it became a course. And we just completed the inaugural 20 women just completed it. We wrap up on Monday, and I'm going to be offering it as like an evergreen. So it'll just be there and you can just sign up for it. And then there's a Facebook group that you get to be a part of, and you kind of do it on your own. It's all self-directed. So, and then I have some like one-on-one stuff and tarot readings, and I'm just kind of playing. I am about to start writing my book though. So it's funny. I am trying to create things that just will make money while I am not actually doing anything. Mm-hmm. So I spent this whole summer creating these courses so that they can just live and people can go and run with them while I go and hermit away for the winter, begin the first draft of my book. So that is, and I'm going to keep people, so, follow me on Instagram because I'm, I tell funny stories and I tell like real stories, and I call people bigots. Sometimes I know it's terrible, but I try to stay true. So, to like what I want the world to be. And I want there to be less the B word and more unification. So I talk about that a lot. So thank you for letting me have a chance to share my little bit. And thank you for letting me walk through your journey. It has been a delight. I loved having it all put together. And I think that everybody out there who's listening is going to appreciate the questions and the way that you come and interview the people that you are going to bring on moving forward, knowing where you are coming from. I think that's so important as we move forward. So
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who's listened in now and in the future. I am going to be making this available on YouTube too, so that we'll be able to share it in the future. Thank you again, Sonia. You are a treasure in this world and in my life forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. Y'all have a great weekend ahead. Be true to you.
Right?
Yes.
Every day.